Good morning, students. Welcome back to our virtual class. The chapter Footprints Without Feet. Yes, very interesting. And now to continue the next part. So far, we have seen that how Griffin was a very good scientist, discovered a certain drug, and he applied on himself. He became invisible. He was wandering because he had no home. He set fire to the house where he was living. He was a tenant. His landlord disliked him. All there were such kind of reasons, and he was not a good man. He was a kind of criminal, we can say, right? So, and then when he was into the market, he left, those footprints on the road, on the street, and then two boys spotted him. And, slowly his footprints became fainter and fainter and then disappeared. And that's how he escaped from the place, right? And then he decided to enter into a big London store to have a warm, right? And then later, what happened? Let's see now. See, closing time arrived. As soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. Closing time arrived. Whose closing time? Which closing time? You know? Yes, that London store. He was in London store, na? He decided to be there. So he went there and he was waiting of its closing time. So finally now at the evening, closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, doors, the mall was closed, so doors were shut. Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense, that being inside, now nobody was there to see him, so he was free, he was relaxed, he had a pleasure that of clothing, that he was now wearing clothes and feeding himself. He was eating, like so many things were there in the mall used to be, right? Without regard to expense, nothing he had to pay, yes, nobody was there, he was invisible. Now he was only one alone inside the mall, and whatever he wanted he was wearing, and whatever he wanted he was eating without paying anything, like. Then he broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. And now inside the mall, what he was doing, he broke open the boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm cloths. Right? Wrappers or the coverings used to be of the boxes, like inside, some of the materials are there. And soon with the shoes, an overcoat and a wide brimmed hat. Wide brimmed, like furs used to be there, like. So, and he became a fully dressed and visible person. And now he became fully visible because of he put on the clothes, he wore all the clothes, right? In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery and store. So how he was enjoying, like he was having everything inside the mall, like the meat and coffee and so many things were there. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. And finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of, quilts. Pile of quilts, collective noun. That is the heap of quilts. Quilts, the blankets we can see here in winter. People used to, cover themselves, right? So he was protecting himself to be inside the mall. First, he had so many things. Then he was resting there, having those quilts. Okay, so that was inside the mall. He was entertaining and enjoying his invisibility now. But he became visible now because of he wore cloths over there. Okay, overcoat and the hat and so many things, like. So students, that's all for the day. Only this paragraph we are completing now, but in our next class we'll continue the next one part, and the few more questions as well, right? And I think that the one question we left in our previous class, you got the answer, that why was he wandering this, sorry, how did the invisible man first become visible? So now how he became visible, he can give the answers here, that he became now fully visible. Listen here. How he became fully visible: soon, with shoes and overcoat and wide brimmed hat, he became fully dressed and visible person, like. Okay. So this is the answer of that question. Now in today's homework, you have to do that question, right? So that's all for the day. Thank you so much. Bye bye.